Okay, let's try to, how much time do I have left? Oh, infinite time. Okay, great. Well, let's try and get this wrap up done before it thunderstorms, which is gonna be very soon. Um, and let's try to keep it under 30 minutes. I think that seems, you know, fair given my standards. April. It's been going on for what feels like 12 months. And I read, this is a really weird like reading slash movie month because I've literally read so much this month and I only watched one movie and I DNF'd the movie that I watched. So without further ado, I'm just going to get right into it. The first thing that I read this month, I've actually already unhauled. You've heard this mentioned in other videos of mine. It's, and I don't want to promote it too much, but it's a self-published book called Baby, You're a Rich Man by Christopher Bundy. And also, if he chose that name for himself, if the male author chooses his last name in his nom de plume to be Bundy, I'm sorry, it's the electric chair for me. I'm sorry, that's, that's the verdict. Yeah, so please don't read this book. There were a number of issues, like, it wasn't incompetent in terms of writing style, but there were issues in editing, such as, like, there's one point where a character randomly appears in the middle of a scene. There's a lot of instances of characters repeating information through dialogue to other characters that we've already been given via exposition, so stuff like that. There were actual problems with it. The biggest glaring problem was that the author very, very clearly hates women. And I'm not saying that as in like, oh, there wasn't a girl boss character, to pander to me. Like, it wasn't like that. It was, which I shouldn't have to say, but it was literally like, oh, so he's a misogynist, like capital M, okay. Yeah, really, really, and the worst part is that it kind of gets worse and worse and worse as the book goes on. And it's kind of difficult because the main character is kind of an asshole, but it's like, so it's like you go on reading expecting, okay, well, he's gonna get, like, the narrative will punish him for this, right? Right? First of all, the author's hatred of women kind of blends into the protagonist's hatred of women, which makes me think that this was supposed to be some, the self-insert of the author, and he was like, oh, I'm an asshole, but I'm lovable, and I'm gonna change myself, except then he never, narratively learns about anything. Oh my god, it's... I don't want to talk about it too much in depth. Don't read it as, a joke or something, though. Because it's really not funny. When I say it's misogynist, I mean, extremely, extremely, hateful things, are said, during a sexual assault scene. Some really, really despicable, threw up in my mouth a little bit, things are said about the character that is getting raped. Yeah, and the women in the book are pretty much all kind of accessories to the main character's ego. They exist to further his ego, and it's just stinky. It's just atrocious. It's terrible. Yeah. And at first it was going pretty fast. It was entertaining, but then it was not entertaining at all. So I finished that, but I gave it 1 star. And then the next thing that I picked up, you might have seen this in my DMV/unhaul vlog. I started The Longest Silence by Thomas McGuane. I actually DNF'd this. I did not finish it. I think I gave up on page 115, so that's kind of fair. It's not that this is bad, actually. This is just not for me. So this is basically this man's entire life in fishing, and it's 40 separate pieces of writing. It isn't a cohesive memoir, it's 40 separate pieces. So it really jumps around a lot, I found, and it's very, very jargony. So even though, like, I like to fish, like, casually, and, like, I did a lot in childhood, there is so much lingo in this related to fishing that makes it just totally, um, like, if there were points in these stories and, like, morals and lessons and themes in these stories, aside from fishing is great, then they went over my head, because I think if you're gonna get something out of this book, you should be an angler yourself. I just didn't have the depth of knowledge about fishing to really get what I could have gotten out of this, because it's clear that he's a very, like, lyrical writer, but when, the beautiful writing and the nature descriptions are all you're getting out of it, then, that makes for a very, very long 350 pages. So yeah, I'm probably gonna sell this one as well. But yeah, so I did that, and then, listen, after those two bad books, I couldn't take a chance on another new book. So I may or may not have reread all 950 pages of Donna Tartt's The Goldfinch. And it was glorious. I was literally, when I was reading this, I was like, it's just as good as I remember. It's, like, even better than I remember. She's a genius. And this is why I didn't watch a whole lot of movies this month, because it is so just, I didn't want to. Like, who gives a fuck about TV and movies and social media when you have this? This is literally, it's like you're stepping into someone else's life. Theo and Boris and Hobie, everyone, I adore them all so much. And God, but some of the scenes, what's funny is, like, the first time I read this, I remember the first couple of chapters were the most brutal ones, the ones where it's like just after his mother died. And this time when I read it, a scene with Theo in the hotel room in Amsterdam, close to the end of the book, I hardly remembered reading that my first time, and now this time I was reading it, and I was like, is the author okay? I was literally like, because you can't write about something like that, like, in that kind of depth. I was reading it and I was like, oh my God, she understands me, and then I was also like, ma'am, do you have someone you can talk to? I don't know, do you ever read something that just gives you, like, infinite empathy for the author, because that having written that, like, there's only so much that you can just imagine and conjure up from nothing, right? She's so brilliant. I love Donna Tartt. Like, Donna Tartt, like, FYI, love you. Like, literally love you so much. I think I'm probably, now that I have to buy all my own books, and my like pile of unread books is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, I think I'm gonna have to start rereading books more often. Honestly, I'm not complaining, because I have a lot of very good books on my shelf that I haven't picked up in a while, so not complaining. Then the next thing that I read, this was a 5-star read, another 5-star read. Yeah, Donna Tartt, she gave me some good luck. This is The Power by Naomi Alderman. Have you ever read something that has induced actual bloodlust in you? I know I said this about that film, The Nightingale, but, like, this induced actual bloodlust in me. And not, like, I have to be careful what I say, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm so mad at this book, bloodlust. It was literally like sadism. I mean, so basically this book is speculative fiction. It made me add a new shelf to my Goodreads, which I'm titling Feminist Rage Fantasies. So it's this and Gone Girl on there so far, along with the You Know What manifesto. This is a speculative fiction about how women suddenly get the power to electrocute with just a touch of their hand, and it comes from like an organ that we all have like right here on our collarbone. And basically this is about the collapse of the patriarchy, and about, but it's not like a, oh, we're gonna do this in like a socially just way. It's literally like, so the revolts first happen in the Middle East, in the countries where women are most oppressed, and because they can electrocute shit, like they're melting pieces in the guns and the cars that the army and stuff tries to come at them with and shit. And then there's just a bunch of stuff that happens in America where like female politicians are like, oh, we should open training arenas for all the girls so they can learn to control their powers. And soon it's like every girl is attending one of these like training academies for her power. Like domestic violence rates against men skyrocket, and women start like raping men, like gang raping men in alleys and shit like that. Men suddenly have to, like, if you want to be in the room when an important meeting is happening, it's like you have to wear some real tight pants that show off your assets. Like, it's like that kind of thing. There's like one scene where this like powerful like leader from the Middle East, she like drops an expensive bottle of scotch or something on the floor, and she makes one of her like male attendants lap it up from the floor. Catholicism collapses too, so they completely like deconstruct religion. They start, and then in the Middle East they start taking away rights from men, so they're like, you need a female chaperone with you at all times, and blah blah blah. There's like a male journalist who gets like trapped over there, and like no one will help him if they can't see his papers that he's on an official errand from a female supervisor. It's men have to start gathering in like actual men's rights groups and like protesting for their like, you know, right to, you know, not be electrocuted and not be brutalized and shit. And like men's media groups form where they all get together and they like watch films that are like, so men's media groups would get together to watch films with strong male leads, and I was like, oh, how does it feel? How does it feel? Yeah, how does it fucking feel? Yeah, I gotta say, I was very, I was feeling some ugly feelings when I was reading this. Yeah, this is just outstanding. I actually kept waiting for this to do something like overly PC. Like, that's what I was concerned about when I was approaching this. I was like, oh, well, they're probably gonna be like, you know, like, oh, the women took over, but it was done in a just and socially correct way, and no men were harmed in the like, no. I feel like this was like the bold way of telling this story, right? Like, this is like the way you tell the story like this, and it's like, I don't know, she wasn't a coward when she wrote this, is I guess what I'm saying. Really, really highly, highly recommend. And I promise you, no, the ending is not like, oh, and then they realized it was wrong to take over, and their natural, their natural impulse, like, was to be good and caring, and there's strength in being soft and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, listen, on my honor, I promise you the ending is nothing like that. Although there were one or two disappointing endings for a couple of characters in this. Yeah, so if you're looking for a feminist rage fantasy that will not disappoint, I recommend The Power by Naomi Alderman. This is really, really well done speculative fiction, and I'm definitely going to be looking into other stuff by this author. So next I read, what was supposed to, a therapy-y book that was supposed to help me but didn't. It's called Wintering by Catherine May. And then the subtitle is The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times. This was very disorganized, and I don't know, it's just this lady talking about like a couple month period of her life, really, but she doesn't really have a lot of very insightful things to say about wintering and rest and retreat in difficult times, because honestly, like, her life doesn't really strike me as all that difficult. Like, she has like a loving family, and she has this well-paying job at a university, and she has enough money to travel. Like, she goes all around the world in these couple of months. Like, she's always on a fucking trip somewhere. And it's just, I'm sorry, it's just hard to relate to someone that's like, oh yeah, like, I was in such a dark place during that time, which is why I called up 40 of my friends to have a bonfire at my house. And it's just like your and my ideas of suffering are not the same, I don't think. I don't think I can really benefit much from any kind of narrative someone has written about suffering and rest and retreat, if it doesn't really involve much retreat at all. Like, she's still, it's not like she went dormant during the time in the book, right? She's still going out places, and she still has a million billion people that she can call up at like any hour of the day. So it's just like, I didn't really feel like she had anything to say. It really damages your credibility as a writer and as a professor as well when you clearly get your facts about paganism from Twitter. She says, since ancient times, Samhain was considered to be the time when the veil between our world and the world of the spirits is the thinnest. But that has not been known since ancient times. That actually started being known, or that like whole idea came about in Victorian times. So if you're a professor and you are clearly getting your facts from Twitter and TikTok and YouTube and other internet sources, probably Wikipedia, it's not a very good look. And then I read another kind of bad one. So I did get around to reading God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater. I finished this while I was waiting in line for shot 1 of my COVID vaccine. And yeah, I didn't like it. There's really not like a whole lot to say about it, to be honest. It's just like, I felt that it was, I don't know, do you know what? I think I just don't like satire when it's written by men. Like, I really think that that's it. Too many times, women who were ugly, teenagers and pregnant, or prostitutes were the butt of some, like, offhand joke he was making, and it's just like, if you're trying to say something about downtrodden people of the world, right? Like, this book is about class, specifically. I don't give a fuck what you have to say about class if you're not including women in that, right? Like, women are the butt of the joke, but then it's like, oh, I'm going to redistribute my wealth to all these people and blah, 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 and it's like, shut up. Also, I hated how many contradictory messages are in this. To me, that does not speak of complexity in a work. When I get contradictory moral messages in a work, that actually tells me that the author was too cowardly to commit to one and risk getting criticized by a larger subset of people. If it's ambiguous, it's harder to be criticized on it. Didn't like that. Didn't like how cynical this was. I didn't really like the writing style. It didn't flow. I was like I had like this much left of the book, and they were still introducing new characters and like telling from those characters' points of view, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, why are you introducing new characters and I'm like almost finished with the narrative? Like, I did not like this. It is possible that I just didn't get this. I was kind of desperate to get through it just because I wasn't enjoying myself, so it might be that I was just going too quickly, and I might have benefited from reading this in a classroom. Like, I might have gotten more out of it. So I don't know. I might at some point go back and give this another try, but I am chomping at the bit to do so. And then possibly the second to last, because I'm almost finished with the book I'm currently reading, but next thing that I read was Mandy. This is a book that I read in childhood, and I've been meaning to reread for a very long time. I just adore it. This was a 5-star read. I read it all in one afternoon after I got shot 1 of my COVID vaccine, because I just wanted to take it easy that day. And this is just about a little orphan girl who discovers a house in the woods, like some trek away from the orphanage. It's behind a big stone wall she has to climb every time she visits it. And it's about her fixing up the house to be her own. So she weeds the garden and she plants the garden, and there's this one room in the house that has just seashells all over the walls. So she dusts the seashells and just makes it her own. Like this is basically just a very peaceful and happy little book about fixing up a place to be your own. And to me, I don't know, it just resonated after the past year or so. One of the best things about this past year has been having my own, like finally having my own full space that I can make my own in every which way that I want. Yeah, and then currently I'm reading, well, I'm probably not going to mention it actually, but I'm reading just like kind of a thing that relates to a bunch of stuff from my past. It's just like a psychological thing about, just specifically about like some trauma related mental health stuff that I don't want to get into, but I'm reading a book on that right now, and that has been extraordinarily helpful. So working my way through that, and then I'll probably finish that by the end of April too. So that will mean I'll have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books this month if I finish that last one. It's not bad. Like, that is not bad at all. So, and then the one movie that I watched, because I was too busy reading to really have much time for movies this month. The one movie that I attempted to watch was Mamma Mia, like the first one, and like, listen, I couldn't get through it. And I know like that, I know that's gonna make me seem like this joyless person. Like, listen, I know, but it is unwatchable. It's unfucking watchable. I was like, I remember watching the second one and quite liking it. And I saw that one with my friend in the theater, but this one, I was like, I was getting really irritated while I was watching. It's like from the first second of the movie, people are screaming and running around. And then it just never stops. Like, it never ceases. It's like people are screaming and running around everywhere, like literally always. And it's like as soon as like a song, and then we move into a song and dance number, and then that goes on for like 5 minutes. And as soon as the song and dance number ends, just when you think you're getting a break, like the song and dance number has just ended, you think you're getting a break, there's some dialogue, and you're like, okay, now I can process what I have just seen and what point in the story we're at. Another song and dance number starts. And it just keeps going on and on like this, and all the colors are so fucking oversaturated, and I'm like, this is hurting my eyes. Like, no one's eyes are that blue. Your eyes are ibuprofen blue. Nobody's eyes are that color naturally. It's just so irritating. It functions like a Minion movie. Like, it's literally just a sequence of bright flashing colors and loud noises and catchy music that it's like the sort of thing you put on to keep an infant entertained. I hated it. I didn't realize that I hated it because I feel like I've watched it before, actually. Or maybe I watched part of it before, and now I know why I only watched part of it before, because it fucking sucks. Literally, I was getting actually stressed out watching this movie. I was literally like, I was almost done with it. I had like 40 minutes left, and I was like, you know what? I'm tapping out. I can't do this anymore. It was literally like, it was like 9 or something at night, and I was like, this is making me really wired and stressed out and anxious, and like, this is not how a film is supposed to make me feel. Let it be said here and now, yes, I'm a hater, I guess. Like, Mom, Dad, I'm a hater. Like, here I am publicly announcing I hate the original Mamma Mia. I didn't hate the second one, but this one I literally I couldn't handle it. It was too much. Altogether too much. So yeah, that was the only movie I tried to watch this month, and afterwards I was just like, no. That is it for my wrap up. Do you too hate Mamma Mia? Yeah, if you've watched to this point, let me know your thoughts on all of this. Goodbye for now.